Hello students, myself Navneet Kaur, lecturer biology, Baba Gola Government Girls Senior Secondary School, Banga, District SBS Nagar. Today I am going to discuss chapter number 14 of 11th class, Respiration in Plants. Here we will do only the exchange of gases and glycolysis part of the chapter. Let's do some basics of respiration. We all know that living organisms require continuous supply of energy for their survival and to carry out various functions like growth, development, movement, and reproduction, etc. About 50% of the energy is produced by the cell, that is utilized by the cellular activities, and the rest of it is changed into heat and is lost in the environment. Now the question arises here, where does this energy comes from? We all eat food. This food contains various macromolecules which is oxidized and give us energy to complete our basic life processes. Green plants and cyanobacteria, they are known as autotrophs. They can prepare their own food with the help of photosynthesis and can convert the light energy into the chemical energy. It stores the food which is prepared through the photosynthesis in the form of glucose, sucrose, or starch, etc. Animals, they are known generally heterotrophs. They get food from the plants directly as herbivores and indirectly as carnivores. Saprophytes also get food from dead and decaying matters. But this requirement of food is all comes from the photosynthesis process. So we can consider photosynthesis as the biggest life process in this world. But the green plants which have the chloroplast, they can perform the photosynthesis, and the non-green parts of the plant get the food by translocation process. So this breakdown of molecules to yield high energy occurs in all the cells. So that's why it is called a cellular respiration. It occurs in the cytoplasm and mitochondrial part of the cell, and the compounds which get oxidized during this process are called respiratory substrates. They may be carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and organic acids. ATP as energy currency. During the process of oxidation, the food which is going to oxidize is not a single step. It performs number of reactions and which are controlled by the enzymes, and the energy is trapped as chemical energy in the form of ATP. And this ATP is not stored in the cell. It remains free and used for the utilization of cellular activities whenever it is needed. The carbon skeleton which is produced during the respiration also synthesize some biomolecules later on. Do plants breathe? Yes, plants also require oxygen and release CO2. Plants do not have special organs for gas exchange, but they have stomata and lenticels for the exchange of gases. Why plants do not need respiratory organs? There are following reasons which show how plants can get along without respiratory organs. Each plant part takes care of its own gas needs. It means each cell works independently. There is very little transport of gases from one part of the plant to the another. Secondly, plants do not present great demand of gas exchange. The rate of respiration in plants is very low as compared to the animal. Diffusion of gases is also less because living cells are located very closely to the surface. In the thick and woody stems, the living organisms are present in thin layers beneath the bark, and they help in the respiration. The interior cells are dead. They provide only mechanical support to the plant. So it results that most of the plant have some parts which are present at the surface in contact with the air. They help in this proper gas exchange. Some loosely packed parenchyma cells in the leaves, stems and roots also provide network of air spaces which helps in the respiration process. Further, respiration has two types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is the respiration in which the organism utilizes oxygen for the complete oxidation of food into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. It starts in the cytoplasm and gets completed inside the mitochondria. Aerobic respiration yields more energy as compared to the other substrates. It utilizes 4 sub-pathways. First of all, glycolysis. Second, synthesis of acetyl coenzyme. Third, Krebs cycle. And last one is the electron transport chain. In the diagram, there are steps which are followed by the aerobic respiration inside the cell. Anaerobic respiration, in which the organic food is oxidized incompletely. It means partial breakdown of glucose takes place, and the organic waste products are produced with little amount of ATP, which is not sufficient for the organism, and it also leads to the fermentation. It is believed that the first cell on the planet lived in the reducing environment with little amount of oxygen or without oxygen, so they were anaerobes. Now, in the present day, many organisms adapted themselves to the anaerobic conditions in the facultative or obligate manner. In all the living organisms, there is a machinery for partial oxidation of glucose or to complete the full process of oxidation to get the energy at the high amount. As the breakdown of glucose takes place into the pyruvic acid, which is the first step of the cellular respiration, that is glycolysis. So this mechanism of combustion of glucose performs carbon dioxide, water and energy. It completes in number of steps and only then sufficient amount of energy is released. The first step is glycolysis, in which the partial oxidation of glucose takes place and 2 molecules of pyruvic acids are formed. So let's discuss in detail the glycolysis process. The Greek word glyco for sugars and lysis for splitting. So it means glycolysis is the splitting of sugars. This scheme of glycolysis was given by Gustav Madden, Otto Meyerhof and J. Parnas, and is referred as EMP pathway. It is common pathway in both aerobic and anaerobic mode of respirations. It occurs in the cytoplasm and present in all the organisms. In this process, 6-carbon glucose splits with partial oxidation to form 2 3-carbon molecules of pyruvate. In this whole process, the sucrose is the first main primary source which get converted into glucose and fructose by the action of invertase and divides into 2 monosaccharides. These 2 monosaccharides now ready to enter in the glycolytic pathway, and the enzyme which are involved in it are invertase, hexokinase, isomerase, dehydrogenase, kinase, enolase, and the last pyruvate kinase. This is the diagrammatic representation of glycolysis, in which we can see that the whole glycolysis process has 9 to 10 steps. The first glucose is the primary source which is going to be break down, and in the next step glucose 6-phosphate is formed by the phosphorylation step, and then isomerization occurs. Fructose 6-phosphate is formed, and then phosphorus 6-phosphate splits into 2 parts, that is dihydroxy acetone phosphate, which can be interchanged into aldehyde 3-phosphates. Further, 1,3-biphosphate glycerate is formed, and ATP is again formed here. 3-phosphoglycerate is formed, then removal of water is there and 2 molecules of phosphoenol pyruvate is formed, and last one 2 pyruvate molecules are there with 3 carbon molecules. So you must remember that each glucose gives 2 pyruvate molecules through the process of glycolysis. So let's discuss one by one the whole process of glycolysis in detail. As we know, sucrose is the byproduct in the photosynthesis which is converted into glucose and fructose with the help of invertase and then enters into the glycolytic pathway. This glucose gets phosphorylated to glucose 6-phosphate with the help of ATP and the enzyme hexokinase. The glucose 6-phosphate isomerizes to form fructose 6-phosphate, which is catalyzed by the enzyme isomerase. The fructose 6-phosphate converts to fructose 1,6-diphosphate with the help of ATP and kinase. In the next step, the fructose 1,6-diphosphate splits into two molecules with having three carbon atoms, which are dihydroxyacetone phosphate and 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, which can isomerized between them. The 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde is converted to 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid in the presence of enzyme dehydrogenase, and NAD converts into NADH. 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid converts to 3-phosphoglyceric acids, and 1 ATP is produced in the presence of kinase. In the next step, 3-phosphoglyceric acid converts to 2-phosphoglyceric acid. And in the next step, 2-phosphoglyceric acid converts to phosphoenol pyruvate in the presence of enolase, and water molecule is eliminated. And then phosphoenol pyruvate then forms pyruvic acid in the presence of pyruvic kinase, and one more ATP molecule is produced. So let's discuss the net gain of glycolysis, which includes 2 molecules of ATP. Net, we can see in the diagram there are 4 molecules of ATP are produced and 2 molecules of ATP are used. So net gain is 2 molecules of ATP, and 2 molecules of NADH and 2 molecules of pyruvic acids are produced in the whole process of glycolysis. So this is the metabolic fate of glycolysis. The fate of glycolysis depends upon the availability of oxygen in the cell. In the presence of oxygen, pyruvic acid will enter into the mitochondria and undergo complete oxidation of glucose into carbon dioxide and water in the aerobic respiration. And on the other hand, if the absence of oxygen is there, the pyruvic acid will undergo anaerobic respiration, and then lactic acid is formed by fermentation. So this is all about the glycolysis. Little discuss about the summary of the topic. Glucose is the primary energy source, and it undergoes oxidation and forms the energy molecule, that is ATP. ATP has 1 sugar, a base, and 3 phosphate groups, and it is used for many cellular reactions inside the body. So at last there is question session. So first question is, which part of the cell, in which part of the cell glycolysis occurs? Second, name the monosaccharides used in cellular respiration as primary source. And in the third question, what is produced in the end of glycolysis? So blanks are there. Think it and answer now. So answer of first question is cytoplasm. This is the place where whole glycolysis completes, and after that the further process occurs in the mitochondrial part. And in the answer 2, the monosaccharides, which is the primary source for glycolysis, is glucose, and during the glucose 2 molecule of ATP, 2 molecule of NADH, and 2 molecule of pyruvate are produced. So that's all about the glycolysis process. So thank you for watching the